Billy, it's only one game against an undermanned opponent.
Who, us or them?
What's that? Yeah,
Who,
exactly.
us or them? Both teams.
Well played. But with 5 players in double figures, 29 assists, 54% shooting, is this at least one snapshot of you guys playing the style of play with Zach and Nicole out there?
Yeah, like I said, I think that the film will be good to watch. I felt in the first half, and it really, I think, speaks to the guys in the locker room. It's an unselfish group that wants to play for each other. I thought we got a little bit too, we was almost like we didn't want to step on everybody's trying to pass, you know what I mean? And we weren't playing aggressive enough. I thought we did a little bit better job there in the second half. We turned it over too much in the first half, and they turned us over last time we played against them, so they do a good job of that. But I thought, overall, once we started playing with really, really good pace, it's a lot easier to play that way. And I think in that, first half at times with the turnovers and the stoppage play and the fouls, we never really got out in transition. And I think we were at our best when we were out in transition tonight, But I think the intention of how the guys are trying to play, is something I think you mentioned to me about being sustainable. I think that we can do that. I think Zach can play any kind of style of play. He's a great transition player. Obviously, he can shoot. He's a lead scorer. So, he'll have opportunities, and I actually thought, there was some opportunities he could have shot the ball a little bit more tonight, but, I think he's trying to make sure that, that ball's moving and he's making quick decisions and getting off of it. And I think for a first game back, being out as long as he's been out and having to come off the bench and, the minutes being a little bit different than what he's accustomed to, he played well. And I thought the same thing for Vooch. Vooch's stints were a little bit shorter, and it's hard playing like that sometimes, especially when you've been out and you haven't banged against, NBA players. And I thought both guys coming in, in terms of how they played with it being the first game was pretty good.
What'd you think of his win? Just looking at him, what'd you think of his Zach's?
I asked him, he said he felt pretty good. The one thing about him I'd say is just when he's had, different things when I've seen him out, he bounces back really, really well in terms of the conditioning. It's pretty impressive, and he works hard. I don't think it just comes back very easily. I mean, he puts the work in, but he gets it back pretty quickly. So he said he felt okay. Obviously, as the minutes get increased, the stints will be longer. But I thought he looked fine. I think that it's hard to assimilate for him, even as we ramped him up an NBA game, for any of these guys. But, overall, I think his win appeared to me to be pretty good. You can ask him how he actually felt.
Are you in a way sort of asking him to do more with less? I mean, in terms of making the quick decisions, taking the shots when they're there, not holding it, things like that. I mean, if he does those things effectively, essentially he'll be doing more with less.
Well, I think that, there's always like a fine line of like sometimes really, really good offensive players play off the dribble, and the dribble ends up sometimes becoming their rhythm to get into stuff, right? But when you look at Zach, he can score that way. He scores in catch and shoot. He scores in drives. He scores finishing at the rim. So he scores on every single level. I think the biggest thing for him is really being aggressive and decisive in terms of what he's got in front of him, because he can score on any different level. But also, I think sometimes is trying to find a rhythm, that way, being out 17, it can be hard to do that. I can't imagine he had a great rhythm tonight, but I thought he was decisive in terms of everything he did, which was good. But yeah, I think that's the whole key. We're doing a really, really good job this year of generating and creating closeout situations. I think we're top 5 in the league, which generally means the ball's being doubled in the low post by Vooch and DeMar when they go down there, and/or there's drives to the basket and helps coming. The problem is we've got to get better with our points per direct. We're like 23rd in the league, on closeout situations. And if you look at all the elite teams offensively, there are teams that take a ton of threes. There's teams that don't take very many threes. There's teams that get to the free throw line. There's teams that don't get. But the one commonality is they handle closeouts really well at a high level. And I think Zach is really good at that, And when he's decisive like that, it opens up things for himself and for others. Because I think there's more to Zach's game than just him being this scorer. He can score, but he's unselfish. He'll make the right pass. Guys are open. He's going to move it. He'll do all those things. But when we do it decisively, I think it allows the ball to move and allows us to play faster.
How bad is Patrick's ankle injury, and just what kind of transpired pregame on the feedback you got on it?
He had been dealing with it, for a few games, and I give him credit. He really has tried to fight through it. It was bothering him this morning, and he wanted to see how he was warming up, and I just don't think he felt great. And I think this is part of his maturation process, quite honestly, because I think that my first year with him, or second year when he had his ankle, he didn't say anything, because he just wanted to play, and and inevitably, it flared up enough that we probably could have got it resolved. So I give him credit that he's going to medical saying, like, this is bothering me, and then as they tried to work him, because he's did everything he possibly could to try to play tonight, and he probably played through it in New York.
And then what was the decision on Dalen starting, and what did you think of how he played?
Well, I think that just, what I talked about pregame, Zach and Vooch being on a minute restriction and wanting to kind of shorten the game for them so that they would be available late if we needed them. And obviously they did play late tonight. So they were kind of, I just didn't want to start either one of those two guys. And, Bridges is a hard matchup. I thought Dalen could maybe start on him. He's got some size and some length. And that was really just the reason. We talked a little bit about Terry possibly when I found out maybe, an hour before the game that Alex couldn't go. But we just thought that Dalen, has done a good job, and we could see what the group did. I actually was pretty pleased with the way that group went out there and played to start the game.
Thanks, Billy.
Okay, thank you.